All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Travi Wavi. I am your affable host, Travis Eason, and we are coming to you live once again in the 325, beautiful downtown, historic Abilene, Texas, the storybook capital of America. And as always, we're coming to you from the Neon Parrot Live studios, where we produce the Travi Wavi and the Breakdown with Ben, and Sunday evenings, open mic singer-songwriters, open mic live. I'd love to have you come down and be a part of our audience. We got a great audience today, some people in the house watching. Really glad you guys are here. We got a little special treat coming up in a little while for y'all. But anyway, if you ever want to come down and catch one of these episodes, we'd love to have you. Majestic Coffee Shop serves Onyx coffee next door and is delicious. Well, you might be recognizing my guest again today. This is a man that I have a lot of admiration for. He's a mentor. He's a friend. We've known each other for almost 2 decades now. And we're having a little birthday celebration weekend. Jeff Bell and I both share a birthday, July 6th. We're getting a little bit older.
Yeah.
And anyway, happy birthday, my guy.
You too, my friend.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Welcome back. Things are going well at the Sheriff's Department.
Everybody's going well. I love it over there. It's been great.
Good. You and Margie still just crushing crime?
Yep. Doing our best.
Good. Have you noticed any increase in crime or traffic with our new construction project north of town?
Definitely. Yeah. Since it's out in the county, we deal with a lot of the traffic issues and the noise violations and things of that nature. A lot of the neighborhood out there, they have some issues with the size of the project, how massive it is, and what it's bringing into the city. And it's, anytime you build anything in any neighborhood, you're gonna have some pushback. But we've seen some of that out in the county for sure.
Do you think that'll affect people's property values that are living out by the build site?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will. It'll have to in some way, form, or fashion. When you start looking at the tax base out there, and whether the property will go up or go down because people don't want to live out there by that, or just the overall tax value might have to go up because of what that project is actually, the kind of money that's being invested in that project. So I'm not sure exactly which way it'll go, but I guarantee it'll be that way, and people will have some negative. The ones that want to stay, it won't affect them much. It might make their taxes go up a little bit, but the ones that are wanting to sell, there'll be the ones that complain, whether they have to pay more taxes or their tax rate goes down and their value goes down. So it's hard to say.
So we've been following that project for a few months and trying to keep an eye on it. And someone from the Lancium project came and spoke to Kiwanis last week.
Okay.
And they were talking about how currently there's 3,200 people working on site 24/7, but by the end of this month, July, they were expecting that number to go to 6,000.
Wow.
So we'll have to stay in touch, and you can keep me up to date on how.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll see an increase in traffic violations and other things. Like I said, anytime you bring in that many transient workers that most of them aren't from here. I mean, surely they hire some local contractors and local company guys, but a lot of those guys will subsidize their force with just workers that they pick up. And a lot of those guys you can't vet, so it could be an issue.
But nothing too major so far.
We have not had a whole lot of issues recently involving anybody that we know that works there. So.
Good. Things are still going well for you in Clyde?
Yeah, it's good out there, man.
Heard you made some home improvements recently?
We did. We just put in a new pool.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome. So I've never been a pool guy. Margie, when she was a little girl, had a pool at home. So she's always talked about it. And we've always had above ground pools, but it's a whole different world when you get an in-ground pool. And so big shout out to Gold Shield Construction, local company. Ismail Hymas, his guys were great. They put the project together, and it went through real quick, and
nice.
It's been great. So
have you guys been getting lots of rain out there?
Man, tons.
It's been a wet year for us.
Clyde Lake's full, which is
great.
It's odd. It's not one of those lakes that fills up easily, so it's got to come from a certain spot, but it's full. So
well, it's wild, and knock on wood, because it's July 3rd in Abilene, Texas, and it would be very common for us to have 100-degree day right now.
Yep.
And it's overcast and cloudy and cool.
Mist and rain when I came
It's
here.
just been such a wonderful summer and spring for us here in Abilene. So so you're on the clock today as a sheriff, or for the sheriff's
Yes.
department, and I had this really great idea a couple days ago. I have some. For those of you that don't know, Jeff Bell was one of the owners of Pappy Slocum Brewing, which is a local legend. And for those of us that had a chance to have some of that stuff, it's wonderful. So I invited one of your former employees, Tate, is here today. And then I brought my son, who also helped us make beer at Pappy's.
He worked there too.
And I dug into the liquor cabinet the other night and pulled out a couple cans. The Black Label cans are specialty beer.
Special releases. Yeah.
So I don't even know what they are. Could be Tartan Hammer, could be who knows what.
Yep.
But Tej, if you want to start maybe opening up a can and giving us all a little taste, and we'll see if Jeff can. He's not going to taste
go
it,
by
but
smell.
he can smell and see if
I have to go back to work.
if we can figure out what some of these beers are. So we'll have that kind of going on in the background today as we chat.
Cool. So a lot of these beers probably would have changed a bunch by now.
I would imagine.
At least a couple years since we closed, and then depending on
they've been just dry stored in the dark.
When they, disclaimer. I'm just going to tell you.
They could be. Who knows
if you
what?
spit them out, there is no guarantee of quality after
After a certain date. Yep.
After the brewery closes, for sure.
So we got those cooled down, and TJ will pour us a little bit and see what we think about this. This will be fun. Do you remember some of the beers that we made in the black cans? So that
we did. Let's see. We did. We did Tartan Hammer. We did Douchebag Jimmy at one point in time. We did Tiny Monk. Hop Session, I think we did one time.
Was there an Imperial
we did,
Red or something?
We did Tom 23 in there at one point in time.
Okay.
And then we also did our Red State Stout.
I think I might have a can of that
before
still.
we actually did. I think before we actually did the Red State Stout cans.
Okay.
But then we also did Winds of Change, our Imperial Stout, for a while. So there could be a lot of options.
We don't know.
Could be in there.
We don't know. They're unlabeled.
no, they're
mystery
unlabeled,
beers. We'll find out. So that's kind of a fun thing we're going to do on the show
mystery
today.
beer.
And YouTube Live, please don't kick us off for having some dated and delicious gems of tasty carbonated bread soda.
I do like to see the fact that there's still foam on the
And a
top
little
of these
carb
beers.
on the
That's
top of
good.
it.
I like
That's
that,
good.
whatever that is. So.
All right. So on the beer conversation, Jeff, since Pappy's closed, we've seen we still have some wonderful breweries in town that are open. Grain Theory's doing a good job. Sam Pugh and Mary out at Sun House. Carl's been trying to find a place to rest, and it turns out he's going to come back to the old Pappy's location.
So I heard that recently.
Hope that works out well for him. Oh, good. Here comes Tate bringing us something. Let's see what this is. Holding everybody in anticipation. So that looks a little...
I guarantee you that was Tom 23 at one point in time.
It was?
Yeah.
I can smell that. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point in time, that was an Imperial Red IPA. So.
Does it hold up?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Tate, have a sip. You tell us what you think if it holds up. I think I'm getting definitely some
probably smells
cardboard,
oxidized a little bit. Yeah.
Sherry.
Well, the thing about these hoppy beers is they're not designed to be.
They're not designed
to be aged or whatever. So. Yeah.
It's seen better days. But this is the fun. This is a fun thing.
That's neat, though.
All right,
I guarantee you that's the hoppiest thing we ever produced, and I guarantee you that's probably what that was at one point in time.
I think I opened a can of one of these maybe a year or so ago with my old neighbors Jamie and Jeff, and I don't remember much about it. I think it was kind of late. We'd gone through a couple of different drinks, and it was like, oh, guess what I have? Hiding. Yeah, that was not what it was when it started.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I can imagine that.
It's interesting. So, thinking about canning a beer that has a lot of flavor and a lot of hot content, a lot of alcohol content, and how that changes over time in a can versus like a Miller Lite.
Right. Well, and you take in consideration the storage. If it's just been dry stored, warm, it's going to make a big difference. If that had been put straight into a cold room, left there or in the refrigerator, it would be a different beer too. You know, so all those things go into account especially when you're talking. We probably did Tom back in late 22,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
early 22. So
It's a
that
3-year-old
beer's 3
beer.
years old.
Yep.
And there's no account for what it's been through, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But the fact that it's still got carbonation and all that, I take
And the
that
alcohol
as a
still
win.
rolls off of that too. I mean, I
take
can.
that as a win, and you can still get some pretty bright hop
Mm-hmm.
smell.
Mm-hmm.
But I can imagine the flavors
But
a
the
little
colors
bit.
change some.
Yep, it's flattened out a little
Yep.
bit, and
Yep.
yeah, I can see that.
What was your favorite? Well, so I mentioned to you before the show today that we're going to have Gary on from the Homebrew Club, the president,
yeah.
at the end of the month. And so I kind of wanted, since July is our birthday month, I wanted to book in July with some kind of homebrew conversation for those of you, for those in our audience that aren't familiar. How did you get started in the homebrew situation? And then talk to me about some of that momentum.
Progression there. I actually started homebrewing when I got back. I was in the in the Army, and then when I got out of the military, I came back. I was stationed in Germany for 3+ years, so I tried a bunch of nice different types of beer over there. And so when we came back, we tried to get some of those beers, and you back in those days, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a weird time for us here. Abilene's always been a Coors Light, Bud Light kind of place, you know. So being able to get certain things was kind of hard. And so at that point, we had a homebrew shop here, you know. Actually was started out in Clyde for a little while, and then they moved to Abilene, and then they wound up moving to the bookstore, the video store over there off South 7th with Rob and his dad, Rob Gwilt. And went in there one day, and I bought my dad a Mr. Beer kit out at the base, out at the BX for Father's Day one year. And we got together. My dad, old school, he drank Miller Genuine Draft for a while, and that was his go-to. Well, we made a beer, and I think it was some form of wheat beer in this little Mr. Beer kit, and drank it, and he had a couple sips, and he was like, well, that's good, but I'm going to go back to my Miller Genuine Draft. And so he didn't really have much pause for it. He was just like, okay, that was fun. That was interesting that we got to do that. And
Yeah.
so myself and my partner in the brewery later on, Brian Kokenauer, he and I had gone through the police department academy together, and so we drank that, and I think we got tanked up at my house pretty good on that, and we had big aspirations. We could go to the homebrew shop and buy bigger batches, and we started doing that, and we started doing extract beers, and we started getting to where we were making really good extract beers, and then we were like, we don't need to make all grain beer. We can make beer fine. Next thing you know, I'm building a mash tun, and we're doing all grain beers in my kitchen. And
so just to interrupt you, if you're interested in homebrew, there's a lot of great resources here for you in town, including the Big Country Homebrew Club. But what Jeff's talking about is that there's really two main methodologies for making beer at home. One would be with an extract. So it's basically all the condensed sugar that you would get from the grain, etc.
Somebody's already
in a syrup,
already provided it for you,
or in
syruped up,
or in a powder.
Yep, you basically
then,
rehydrate it.
Yep, and then that's just your malt, basically your malt sugar, or the all grain method, which is what most breweries in town are using, to my knowledge. You would mash, you would crush the grain to expose the cotyledon on the inside, and then soak it in hot water for a period of time to release that sugar.
Yep.
So that's the difference between all grain beer setup and
you have a lot more control with your all grain setup, you know, because whoever
Fresh.
makes your extract, you're at their mercy as to what they do and how that mash comes out. Then they condense it, they boil the water off of it, and it makes the syrup, and then you're basically rehydrating that, and you get what they give you. So as a all grain brewer, you get to control the temperature, you control the grains that go into that, and all the grains have a different flavor, and mash temperature affects how sweet, how malty, how dry, and those kind of things, and the color profile and all that comes from all those different grains that you can do. So you've got a lot more variety as an all grain brewer. It's a lot more time consuming. Overall, it's probably in the grand scheme, once you get your equipment set up, it's a little cheaper, because buying grain is a lot cheaper than buying malt extract or spray dried malt. So it's kind of just how hard and how complicated you want home brewing to be.
Right.
Really.
And thinking about the color, like the grain itself, we used a lot of base malt, 2-row, things of this nature, which is just sort of like a pretty mild, like a Pilsner, like something that you would have in your Miller Lite or your Coors Light. And then getting the different colors and those other flavors, you can actually take the grain and roast it, or in our case, we would have that done professionally. But they would roast the grain much like a coffee bean to get a different caramelization or even like a roasty chocolate burnt taste in some cases.
Yeah, you can go from a light toast that gives it a little bit of an amber color to a little darker that produces more of a red to a really roasted grain that gives you that black Guinness color that everybody talks about in your stouts and porters. So,
and then there's a difference too between grains that are grown and roasted, malted and roasted here in the U.S. versus like Europe or Canada
England
or Mexico. Yeah, very different flavors.
Whole different. A lot of the regional stuff comes through. Back in the day, being able to get Belgian Pilsner malt, which is Pilsner Urquell, was kind of the gold standard for lagers as a when we first started brewing beer. All of American light beers, Pilsners, kind of got the that was where they kind of were born from, those light German and European lagers. And being able to get Moravian malt was something that was kind of, if you could stumble across a bag of that, it just produced a different type of flavor because of where it was grown and how it was grown. Pilsner from the Midwest, produces a different type of flavor than, something say up in, now the Texas has several malting companies and they actually grow barley here in parts of Texas, and we have our own malting facilities and that grain has a different flavor profile based off of the soil and the heat and all kinds of things.
And it's interesting too when we keep talking about the grain itself. So you've got a barley, you harvest the barley, it's a little seed head, and at that point you've got to malt it to bring out those sugars for later. You've got to soak it and allow that cotyledon to start to grow a little tail, like it's almost going to sprout.
Yeah,
and that changes the sugars on the inside of the seed.
It thinks it's underground, and you have to heat it at a certain temperature and keep the moisture content a certain level, and that grain thinks it's in the ground, and it starts to sprout and become a plant. And once the sprout gets out far enough, it changes the kernel itself, the internal enzymes, and it then becomes a malted grain, which you said. And then they use hot air to basically kill it, and then it becomes viable for making beer.
For making beer. So after it's gone through the malting process, and maybe at that point it gets toasted or roasted.
Yeah.
And then bagged, and then we get it into your home or your garage if you're a home brewer, or at the brewery if you're making quantity. Speaking of that, can we open another can and try another little flavor, friends? I don't know that I'm going to finish this one. It's got a little too much
a little too much something.
Wet cardboard on it for me, but we tried. Okay, so at Pappy's we would get grain in various kinds and flavors. We would grind it, and then we would put it in the mash tun, and that's very similar to if you had a pre-made malt or whatever as a homebrew club. And the purpose of that is to then extract the sugars.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you do that based on like the amount of how you kind of have your recipe, which you're the recipe master, so I'd like you to talk about this. But you think about how much alcohol you want, what color you want, hop profile, and you're going to design your recipe around that. So how did you come up with? I know you and Brian worked on Local Yellow. How did you guys formulate that recipe?
Local Yellow kind of. When we started the brewery, actually before we started the brewery, we had the name of this beer and we knew what we wanted it to be before we had ever even tried to make it. We started kind of fiddling with the recipe, and Brian wanted to be the local yellow guy. He actually he designed the bulk of that recipe, and then we tweaked it a little bit going forward, especially when we got ready to do it in bigger quantities. But for the most part, we wanted it to be a light, easy drinking beer because like we talked about earlier, you know, Coors Light, Bud Light is still king around
popular.
here. So even back, you know, when we started home brewing, we liked English ales and things like that. But a lot of people we would let try it, they were like, "Oh, I don't know what that
Yeah.
is." So, what that is?
This is a new one. You guys haven't had before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is this just water? What is this?
Yep,
Just some water.
that's water.
The other can
It had water.
Of water?
No,
Oh, they're the same beer. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, we brought 3 of the same.
We did can some water up there.
We did can some water.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, my son and I have been enjoying more of the soda waters that, you know, like
Sparkling waters.
Sparkling waters. Been drinking one out of Austin. And when we made soda waters, I mean, you don't have to mash it.
No,
You
it's
just
easy.
add water and flavor and then carbonate it,
Yep,
correct?
carbonate it up.
You could do it all in a 30-barrel bright tank, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it would be done fast.
And it'll be done in a day or 2.
Quick.
And
yeah,
can it.
Quick. Yeah, especially at the end when we were open, hard seltzers were just kind of coming out. So being able to make a hard seltzer, it was game changer for us. You know, people, you know, because you have a lot of people that come. Seems like a lot of times on Saturdays and stuff, people would come in. You would see the guy in the relationship drinking the beer, and maybe girls, not all of them, like beer, and so having an option for them, similar to a White Claw or something like that, some kind of flavored seltzer, was big for us. So, and they're very simple to make. So yeah,
Yeah,
And
it doesn't take as much time as
Yeah.
grinding grain, malting,
not at all.
mashing it in, waiting fermentation.
Yep.
Oh yeah. What are some of the things you miss the most about making beer every day professionally?
I can tell you what I don't miss. I don't miss
Heard.
sweating.
No.
I don't miss being hot and muggy and steaming and all of that. Tate can testify, and I know you can, and TJ as well.
Yeah, it got hot in there.
It got hot. Even when it was moderate outside, that place held some heat.
Yep.
So, but man, I as far as going to work every day, brewing beer, I kind of knew what my day was. You know, when I got up that morning, I knew what I was going to be doing that day, unless something major transpired that changed the course of what we were doing. We would come to work knowing we're doing a double batch of yellow, or we're doing a double batch of stripper dust or something like that. So consistency. I enjoyed the creativity part of that. That was a release for me to be able to build recipes and make beer. When we got into big production and we started making local yellow and stripper dust at a real high level, wasn't always fun going in and knowing you had to make the same beer that you made 2 days ago, you know, same recipe. But then you got in robot mode, so you knew exactly what you were going to do.
Yep.
You know, you didn't have to think about it much.
No.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, it was fun. When we got to make something new and exciting and different, I like that creative part of it. So,
Last week I tried to tell a little joke monologue on the show with D. Grant, and I don't have one prepared today, but I thought I'd retell this story, which you'll probably remember.
okay.
So it was a typical day at the brew house, and probably getting close to 4, and I had to go pick up my kids from school, and you'd pieced out for the day. We'd already been making beer since 4 in the morning.
Yep.
And like normal, you'd say something like, "Hey, Trav, top off the cold liquor tank, top off the hot liquor tank, whatever," right? Oh, yeah, yes, sir, got you. So I go, start topping off the cold liquor tank, go pick up my kids from school, come home, sit on the sofa, crack a beer. Oh, my God, I left the water on. Get in the truck, drive as fast as I can from my house back to Pappy's without getting pulled over, and I'm just thinking to myself, no matter what's going on in there, just go straight in and turn the water off first. And I walked into the tap room, and there's already water down by the front door. Inches of water behind the bar. Walking up towards the back bathrooms, just a waterfall of water coming down off the steps, and I just run to the back, turn off the water, and then probably spent the next 4 hours squeegeeing and mopping and nonstop. And then I told you that, and you said, "Hey, good for you, you know, welcome to the club."
I remember that call. And then you, the amount of panic.
Yeah.
People cannot imagine the amount of panic in your thought process when you're like, oh my God.
It flooded the building.
Yes, and you aren't the first, and I'm
I
sure
probably wasn't the
you would
last.
not be the last
No.
one, probably.
But all that
Yeah.
concrete got good and cleaned.
It got
that day.
saturated a lot. That's right. You found all the low spots
I
too
sure
in the brewery.
did.
Whenever you would get a big deal like that, you could tell where there was a low spot in the concrete because it would settle right there.
Chase it down
Yep.
back into a corner.
Yep.
Yep. Oh man. Well, I do wish Carl good luck in that space. I'm imagining that he'll be making beer kind of in the way he's been doing it, which is relatively small scale.
Yeah.
Most of Pappy's equipment went to Grain Theory.
Yep.
And I do see Jeremy from time to time, and every time I do, he's like, "Oh, we're getting closer to using the canning machine.
Yep.
Oh, we're getting closer." So I hope they can figure it out.
I went by there. He had a old Pappy keg that had gotten returned to him, and he asked me if I wanted it, and I told him yeah. So I met him there.
Cool.
One day, and he walked me around, and they had a couple pallets of cans in
Good.
there, so they are.
So they're making progress.
The wheels are turning. I
Figuring
can
it
tell you
out.
that. So, yeah, they bought a lot of our old equipment. So hopefully it'll be revamped and revitalized. And there's a lot of good memories in this old building over here. So, I mean, I wish Carl well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it moves forward.
Exactly.
Making beer it sounds great. It's super fun when you're doing it as a home brewer, and you can share, and you go to the homebrew club and
Yep.
bring a bottle or bring a keg and share. But then when you decide to, I never decided to because I worked for you and got to watch you do it. But step it up and make 14 to 30 barrels of beer in a week.
Yep.
It's a different.
It's a. Everybody always says that everybody wants to be a brewer till it's time to do brewer shit.
Yeah.
And then
It's professional mopping.
It is.
It really is.
If you're a janitor that can make beer, you're good.
Yeah, it's a lot of mopping.
And a maintenance man. You have to be a maintenance guy too. So
Yeah. Well, and Tate's here today, and I'm gonna pick on Tate. One of the things I really enjoyed about working with Tate at the brewery as a retired Air Force fella and mechanic, watching Tate's brain work. We would get a new piece of equipment, and like Tate would just start to take it apart to learn how it functioned and put it back together. And I just was always so mesmerized by that.
I can tell you the one thing I didn't like about working with Tate though. Tate was always the doomsday guy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
never gonna work.
If this valve was messed up, Tate was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to do this. You're gonna have to take this apart." And working on airplanes is different because my brewery's not gonna fall out of the sky if I don't work on this and fix this right now.
Yep.
So Tate always came in with the mindset, we got to fix this, and it's got to be this, and it's got to do this, and so he was looking at it as a fighter jet, and we was like, dude, this is just holding some beer. We're good. So, but Tate would always he'd start off at the worst case scenario,
panic.
and then all we got to do is replace that clamp right there. We're good.
No big deal.
Yeah, we're good.
No big deal. Yep. Man, there is definitely something I really miss about the physicality of that work, and then the camaraderie that you built up there with your assistants.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really fun.
It was good
Special
stuff.
time.
I missed the
dude.
work too, man. My belly.
Yeah.
My belly used to be a little flatter, and
Throwing around 50-pound bags of grain,
Yeah,
man, it gets you jacked.
yeah, I use a computer and a pencil now, so it doesn't really work on my belly anymore. So, yeah, but I don't. I like I said, I'm fixed to be 61, and I don't think I could physically do that work anymore. I'd have to be smarter about it. I can't just grab stuff and jerk it around. I'm sure I'd be in a sling somewhere if I did, but I do miss that too as well. You know, the going up there, something to be said about shared misery. We'd all sit up there and sweat and do our thing, and we never would drink beer till we were almost done,
Pretty
because
much.
we didn't want to screw anything up.
Yep.
So, but we'd have at the very end when we would sit there and pop open that first beer. Those were good times. So
Really good times.
there you go.
Right
Pull
out of the
one
bright
right out of the
tank.
bright
That's
tank.
right.
That's right.
That's
Don't
right.
get no fresher than that.
Man, so good. So many good memories. So you're not brewing beer anymore.
I have not since. I have my small system. I have, we used to call it the Mule. I have it. It's still sitting at my house, and my kids tell me you have to brew beer at some point in time. So
Yeah, sometime.
we will. I've got a grandson coming up, a couple of grandsons, and at some point in time, I want to be able to show them the ropes and see what they.
But you are doing some distilling,
Yes,
and that's
little
been
bit.
working out, been
That's
fun.
been fun. Yeah, just a little
Yeah.
part-time, just for something to sip on at the house. So it's been good. Whole different process, so I like it. It's a little more forgiving and they're less time consuming, and it's interesting.
In distilling, do you still have to you still heat up your mash?
Yes, but you can do that with just hot water. I mean,
Okay.
just boil water, and then basically you're pouring your ingredients in there. Corn, if you do corn, you just got to basically boil, and then you let your mash cool down to where it gets to a relatively low temperature, because seed grain like barley and wheat, they mash in the 140s to 150 range. So you boil your corn, and then you let it cool down into that range, and then you add your barley to it.
Okay.
And so it's pretty easy process. So
Interesting.
A little longer. The day you do something, that day's a little longer.
Okay.
But then it's basically just sit around and wait, let it do its thing, and then
Enjoy it.
yeah,
That's cool.
that's it.
What other hobbies you got going on right now?
I have zero besides sitting in my swimming pool.
Well, that's
so,
good,
which is
though.
kinda
That's a good hobby.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have time for a hobby, but I was telling you earlier, we just had puppies, so that has taken a lot of time this last week for
Little
sure.
golden
little
doodle?
golden doodles, yeah.
And you got 9.
I've got 9,
And
so
they're for sale.
anybody wants a golden doodle,
Yeah, hit
we
up
will-
the man.
we will get you fixed up. So
That'll be good.
yeah.
How old are they?
They're 2 days old.
Oh, like brand new.
babies. They're about
Brand new.
that big.
How long will they need to nurse and everything before
They'll
they're
be about 8
weaned?
weeks old before
Okay.
we can start getting rid of them. So
Very cool.
sometime maybe late August, give or take.
Nice. And did we discuss what you're going to do for your birthday?
We did, but I haven't decided yet.
haven't decided
so,
yet?
Yeah, wife asked me that on the way into work this morning, so I don't know.
Make a batch of beer?
Maybe, but I don't know. I have to work on my smoker. I have a pellet grill that's acting up, so I have to figure out how to fix that so I can. So I definitely would like to smoke some meat or do something on the grill this weekend. So yeah.
Any good recipes you've been playing with for food or?
Man, I've just been making a lot of ribs, and I did a brisket recently. If you can afford a brisket, they sure taste good, but man, they're expensive. So.
Yeah, price everything's
yeah.
up.
Started doing what they call party ribs, which is kind of a cool thing. Instead of spending 5.5 hours smoking a rack of ribs, you cut them into individual ribs, and then you basically smoke them for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then they're already sauced and cut, and they taste really good, and it cuts a whole bunch of time off your cook day. So
Nice.
good stuff. So
That's pretty
go
cool.
to YouTube. There's a bunch of different people that have party rib recipes, but it's interesting if you have never done it.
And you're
It's
doing
good.
that on your smoker?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. And you guys just got back from Cancun.
We did.
You and
25th
Margie.
anniversary. Yeah. so
Congratulations.
we surprised me that she's still with me, so she's keeping me around for a little while. But yeah, we had a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You'd go back again?
I would definitely go back. Yeah.
Good. What else is going on? What else you want to talk about?
Man, I don't know. Not much for us. We're pretty simple these days. We don't do much.
But the
Go to
kids are
work.
doing good. The grandkids are doing good.
Grandkids are great.
Enjoying
So
the pool.
I would like to mention the fact that you have a woman in your life,
I do.
and I can look at the camera and I will tell you, as long as I've known Travis, what I have always wanted for him is to have a stable, great woman in his world, and I see he may have that. So I'm very
Well.
proud of both of y'all. So
Well,
yeah,
give me a little
my
mushy
guy-
and gushy over here.
I'm not a matchmaking kind of guy, but I was always trying to figure out somebody that would be right for the Renaissance man over here. So, but I think he found one on his own. That's cool.
Well,
so,
I had some help, but
well, that's good.
so far so good.
Very proud. Very proud.
Very stoked and grateful that she's here
Yeah.
watching today.
And if she leaves you tomorrow, I'm sorry.
well,
but
hey.
I can understand why if you do. So. Thank you. Sorry. I ain't putting no bad juju on you, but
That's great.
yeah, I was pleased when I saw that today.
Yeah,
so
good.
because that's always been a wish for me for you.
Well, I'm very, very happy, boy.
Good.
So you've been in Clyde and Abilene most of your adult career.
Yeah,
in
pretty
life.
much. Yeah, adult life for sure.
And-
stint in the military, and that's about it.
Seen a lot of changes. Been a part of some of the changes with
Yep.
Pappies and everything.
Yep.
Where would you like to see culturally Abilene wind up in the next 5 to 10 years?
Man, the dramatic difference from where it is now, from where it was when we first started thinking about doing what we've done is huge.
Mm.
So I can't think of anything that would make it that much bigger a step. But I don't want Abilene to lose its quaintness, and I don't want it to lose its just Abilene. This area is actually a very homey feeling place. People that raise kids and have families, and a lot of people, and you hear a lot of people from Dias, they come here and they stay here, but then the guys that retire, a lot of them live here. They decide they don't want to go anywhere else. So there's something to be said for where we are now. The food and beverage industry is always evolving and always changing. I do like the fact that we just got Jay's Barbecues on the Texas Monthly Top 50.
Very cool.
They've worked really hard to do that. Things like that, getting some notoriety for some of the very good things that we already know exist in Abilene. So like Grain Theory, at some point in time, I have no doubt those guys will win a GABF medal.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
They have the potential to do all of that. We were on the cusp of doing some of that. We never quite got there, but I have faith in those guys. I have faith that they can be the ones that do that. And getting nationwide recognition for things, and even statewide like Jay and them with the Texas Monthly. That's a big honor.
It's huge.
So,
yeah, and
we as a community should be pleased for those guys and take that to heart when we go to spend our money and do things. So
it's
good
fun.
stuff.
It's fun to think about how many of local places like Jay's or Vagabond, even the axe throwing place, started. Maybe not initially started by coming to Pappy's, but Pappy's was part of their.
Sure, they're part of the journey. Maybe
part of the
at
journey.
least. Yeah. Vagabond. Those Jason and those guys over there, they were our first and only food truck for a while. They had the little pizza trailer and they did their thing, and then they wound up building the restaurant and very successful and
Jay's
all
was
the
the same, right? Didn't they come out on a food truck
Jay's
for a
had
few
food
years
truck.
and then got the brick and mortar?
Yep. And when they put in their place over there, a lot of rock and rollers, same way.
Rock and rollers, that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of that's going on, and whether or not we were responsible, I think we were at least running parallel with those guys on their journey because we were doing our thing. And
we were like a third place, a place that, and only on Saturdays generally, but that kind of helped get other people's names out there and things of that nature.
Yep, I agree with that. 100%.
And I don't know that there's a place like that right now again.
I don't either. I don't know.
If there is one, let me know.
I think it was just a different time. When we started doing the brewery in 2014, when we opened, I think Abilene was starving for something different and something new, and so I think we kind of filled a part of that void, and then that allowed us to bring in other people that enhanced what we were doing, because we would not have been what we were had we not had great food trucks like Jay's and Vagabond and Rock and Rollers and Bowtie.
Oh yeah,
those guys. You could always tell when we were going to have a good Saturday based off of what food truck was there.
You're right.
Because you always knew, because you had proven hits. Those guys would show up every time they were there. We had a line out the door. So it was a cultural thing, and whether or not we were leading that culture, we at least got to ride along with it when it kind of. I'd like to think we kind of pioneered some of that.
I think you helped at least set aside a space and a time for it. And that was cool. I'd like to see something like that come back.
Yeah.
Okay, audience, any questions for Jeff Bell today? Tick, tick, tick. Nothing?
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
What's the worst thing you've ever done, Jeff Bell?
Worst thing? Wow, that's a very
tough
broad
question.
That's a very broad question. Man, I don't know. I guess I would have to equate it to some of my my job at APD, you know, I investigated homicides and things of that nature, and those were always difficult. And personally, you know, having crappy relationships and having 2 ex-wives and all that's pretty bad, you know. So, just my journey through life has been weird, you know, in my mind. It may be normal for some people, but in my mind, it seems weird, you know, being in the military, being police officer, being on city council out in Clyde, and being a grandpa, you know, being a dad, all that stuff. That's a weird journey. So I don't know that I don't feel like there's anything bad, you know. Like I said, I've seen and done some bad things in my life because of work and other things of that nature, but my life's been pretty good.
I like that.
You know, I'm just riding this pony, man. It's good.
Riding the pony. Good
Yeah.
question, audience.
Yes.
Any other audience questions? Sam, you got a question for Jeff Bell today?
Can't think of one at the moment.
We're just so engaging up here.
Yes.
It's really good. What else? You got a question for me?
Man, I've known you a while, so let me think here.
I want to say about 17 years or so.
At least. Yeah. We started the Brew Club in '07, so been there a hot minute. So let's see, Travis, you're 40, fixed to be 47.
Yep.
Okay, so in your 47 years of life, what is your greatest accomplishment in your mind?
I think being, and I would say most of this isn't even like on me in the sense that I had a choice over it or a lot of control over it, but you know, being able to be present in my kids' lives and be like, you know, working from home, so I'm there a lot, like being a part of their lives. It's not just a dad that comes home from work and is there for dinner and maybe there for church. Just, you know, a little bit more engaged, and I'm really proud of all my kids and my grandbabies.
Fixing to get another one.
Gonna get another one. Just found that out the other day.
That's crazy.
So excited, RN Dean. Yeah, I think that that's a big thing for me.
I can tell you from an outsider looking in, you know, and I knew you when you were married before, and once you guys separated and did that, I noticed the fact throughout the time I've known you how engaged you've always been with your kiddos. So I think that is a big thing. That is something to be proud of. So I was kind of on the other end of that because I worked and I worked weird hours. I had, you know, I was always gone. I got called out on birthdays and Christmas and all that stuff. So I got to see my kids just when I got to see them. But you always were in a position where you had.
I think after I left ACU in the theater department, it definitely overhauled my schedule, opened up my schedule, where, you know, the theater schedule is a lot of nights and weekends.
Sure.
And but I was able to, you know, step away from that or walk away from that, you know, right when, gosh, Grace was, I don't even know, 3 maybe or something.
Little,
It's just
she was
little,
small.
you know. So yeah, that's been good. And yeah, I'm, you know, secretly I'm a little proud of the Travi Wavi show and Sam Wolf, and that we just get together and do this every Thursday.
Talk
And
to some cool people.
we do have some cool people on the show. Yeah.
Maybe not me, but other people.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of good folks. Yeah.
You got plans for the 4th? What you doing? What do you got for your birthday?
You know, I don't know yet. I told you that Sam and Mary bought a house, and I'm going to do kind of a fun, funky mural on that. So I might start on that depending on the weather tomorrow. You know, if we get rain, I might just hang out, work in the yard. I've been pulling weeds with all this rain.
Yeah, it's been terrible.
It's been crazy. But yeah, I mean, I've got that mural project coming up this week. Next week is the 2nd annual Travi Wavi
Your
golf tournament.
yeah.
So if you got one of those invitations, you're super lucky. And we'll be doing that next weekend. Oh yeah, thanks, Bon. Tonight, Cash and the Change is playing at the Peacock Patio outside bar. That's just over here downtown in the old Elliott Hamill Funeral Home.
home.
They're going to start at 9. Is that right, son?
Old people aren't up at 9, TJ.
8:39. The lead singer Cameron is going to be in Florida with his family doing some fun Florida stuff. So the band's just going to come together and smash it out anyway.
Do some work.
But if you haven't seen Cash and the Change, I mean, they're one of my most favorite bands. But I'm totally biased.
Maybe a little
Totally biased.
Maybe a little bit.
Gosh, I wanted to plug some other things. I think Ben is out of town this week. He's in Alabama, so no breakdown with Ben today. I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a brain fart this morning.
Okay. Because it took Sam 95 tries to get this thing
Yeah, we had a
working
lot of
today.
technical difficulties this morning, but we got her rolling.
I think it's the weather. I blame the weather, Sam.
Yeah.
It's being closed for the week.
Oh,
That could
well,
be
that
too.
might happen too.
Building's upset with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Sam has made some incredible progress on the coffee shop. He's got a new deli case that's going to be putting into the counter with some new options, I think, for food. I don't want to be speaking out of the side of my neck here, Sam, but that'll be coming online next week, so that's good. And
That'd be awesome.
again, if you are, I keep seeing on Facebook people are asking, "Where's the best coffee in town? Where's the best coffee in town?" And I'm biased again.
Of course.
It's my
Okay.
friend's shop. I
Yep.
love it. Helped do some of the interior decorating in there. But Onyx Coffee out of Benton, Arkansas, is really a great brand of coffee, and it's all that they serve at Majestic.
I've had their coffee, and it is good.
It's very good.
It's very, very good.
What else is going on, friends? Anything else? Thoughts? No, we're just all here today.
The
Well,
world is a changing.
it is a changing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else to ask you, my friend, today.
Okay.
We do have some more fun guests coming on in July, some new faces. One person we've had on before, and then we'll be looking at August and the rest of the summer for more fun guests. We got a lot of things going on in Abilene. We got a new city manager. She came in to replace Robert Hanna. Nick Noblique's got his new sculpture up at the Sculpture Garden. The new Sculpture Garden, that's looking great.
I saw your interview with him. That was cool.
Yeah, I think he's going to come back on in August. We'll talk about that some more in that process.
Just
Again,
had the CAF Festival, and then I guess Beer Summit will hopefully come up in September. So
have they made a date for that
I
yet?
haven't heard yet, but
Okay.
I'm assuming that's a big fun
Beer Summit is
fundraiser
always
for
good.
New Horizons. So hopefully that comes up.
Yep,
It's always a fun time.
yep. Lots of good things happening in Abilene
Yep.
all the time. Anything happen out in Clyde?
Festival by the Lake this weekend.
Okay.
Starting tomorrow.
So if you need some fireworks,
If you need fireworks, they always do a good job of putting on a fireworks show Friday and Saturday night. I haven't talked to anybody about this year or whatever, but that's normally what transpires. They normally have some live music out there and cook-off and
good
fun times. So
stuff.
a lot of good fireworks.
Good stuff.
And the lake's full.
And the lake is full.
Very full. Yeah, it's good.
I mentioned before the show that I saw an article. I don't know if this is true, but I'm still going to say it anyway. That Wichita Falls, Texas, north of here, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I think they're on the Red River, aren't they? Or they're close to the Red River.
Yeah.
They have gotten more rain this year so far than all rain combined in the last 100 years. Which seems kind of crazy.
Sounds like a big number, but maybe.
But we have gotten a lot of rain.
We have gotten a lot of rain. Yeah, I know. Like I was telling you earlier, I think at one point in time in a 48-hour period out at our house in Clyde, we got almost 8 inches or more.
It's crazy.
So, which is odd for us here. You know.
No flooding for you or anything?
No, nothing crazy. My tank's full, and
Good.
I like it though. It's good. I do have to mow a lot. But
Yeah, a lot of mowing
that
this
sucks.
year. Well, friends, I think we're going to wrap this one up today a little bit, unless we've got any more questions from the audience. Call-in questions. I don't have Big Frank on the line, so I can't call him in Chicago. But we really appreciate you guys watching this every week, and this is just a fun labor of love that we enjoy doing, bringing forth the fun characters and the capital of storybook, capital of America, and thank you, Sam Wolf, for being the executive producer extraordinaire. Thank you to our audience. You guys are always welcome to come down and watch these live. If you're interested in being in the show, comment, let me know, get a hold of us. We'll have a conversation about it. Other than that, I don't know what else, my friend. Happy birthday.
You too, buddy.
Yeah.
Too.
You look great.
Good. You look good for 47, man. I'm telling you.
You look good for 61, brother.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep. Yep.
I feel it some
I want to
days,
come
but
out and swim.
We do. We'll get you there
Okay.
for sure.
Yep. Let me come out and swim and try some of your newly distilled whiskeys.
Stuffs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Good. Well, thank you, friend, for being on again today.
I love you, man.
I love
Anytime.
you too. Fun birthday month. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Signing off from the Travi Wavi.
Good stuff.